Hello everyone, I'm Wendy De Rosa, and this video is on trauma and energy healing. So I find that this is an extraordinarily important topic when it comes to spiritual work, when it comes to energy healing, and when it comes to personal healing in general. Now, I'm not a clinical therapist, and so I can speak to some aspects of trauma. But I am going to address this from the energy healing perspective, from that lens, which is that when we are starting to evolve in consciousness, we're growing, we're expanding, we are stepping into our light and into our gifts, and ultimately that expansion process does start to bump against our contractions. And these are words in the spiritual realm. Our contractions, our shadow, our complexities, our darkness. These are all terms that we use in the spiritual healing world. Another word for these is our traumas and our wounds. And what happens here is that as we are evolving and learning to step more into our light and our gifts in the world, we can do so from the upper body, from our heart chakra, from our crown chakra. People are seeking all different kinds of ways to spiritually grow and evolve and kind of blow open the upper chakras and have this incredible opening, which is wonderful. But where transformation happens for an individual is actually when we start to ground it and integrate it into the lower chakras, because those power centers are about our existence on this planet. That's important. We can evolve all we want in the upper body, but stay spiritually bypassed and stay ungrounded. Where transformation truly happens is when we can say, I'm taking that expansion, I'm taking this awakening, and I'm going to start to integrate it into my lower being. And what that does is have us start to touch in on the contractions, on what were the experiences that didn't allow me to evolve, or that I have escaped from. And inevitably, as we are evolving, we grow, we awaken, we have awarenesses in life, and some of these traumas start to surface even as we are just simply growing. We reach a particular age, or we witness a particular experience, and it sparks an old memory of a trauma. And so what happens here is that trauma on the energetic level typically relates to energy that's held in the body from the third chakra down. So that means from the solar plexus region, which is beneath the diaphragm, down to the tailbone area of the body. Now, we don't think about these, certainly not the tailbone. We don't think of a power center there, determining our programming and what we're holding. It's not a power center we feel. It's not an area of the body that is emotional. It's not an emotional power center. At the same time, it houses so much of our conditioning and our energy that we've held in our body. And what's important is that when we are young and we're developing and we're growing, we're evolving, we're experiencing a tremendous amount of energy and imprinting and experiences in the family structure that form how we're existing in our life and in our body and in our world. And that's our root chakra area of the body. But that area of the body also houses consciousness of what happened to us between the ages of pre-lifetime, in utero, and up to 7 years old ish, give or take. So in that area of the body, we're holding a lot of our survival mechanisms and our experiences of life and what we came into this world with and what the family was thinking and believing at the time, and what we internalized and absorbed into who we are so that we can belong in the world, in our family of origin. And if there has been life experiences, traumatic experiences that have occurred, whether it's acute trauma or complex trauma in life that's held in the lower half of the body, our spirit will go through life just fine escaping that area of the body, the lower chakras. It will be fine just lifting higher up and existing in the world, because that's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism for the spirit to leave the body a little bit, or for consciousness to elevate in the body a little bit and disconnect from those older traumas in the body. When we're in the energy healing field, it's important to know that inevitably people's traumas are going to get touched when we start to look at and I'm going to start healing myself, or I'm going to start to develop my intuition. My intuition is opening up. I'm seeing things. I'm feeling things. I always have. I stuffed it down. Now I'm starting to look at it more. What happens here is that when our intuition starts to bud from within, and we start to feel these calls to more and to learning about more of ourselves, it coincides with healing. And what's so important is that we have an awareness of trauma and what trauma is and how to work with it. Sometimes that is where it can be incredibly crucial to seek out a trauma therapist or even a healer who understands trauma. In the energy healing world, energy healers throughout decades have worked with trauma without it being called trauma. We've called it other things, but now that so much trauma has been in the collective, meaning it's been on, certainly in the United States, in the field, it's been in the world, when we have mass traumas going on, our mass traumas touch in on our personal traumas. They trigger our personal traumas, and our personal traumas get activated. Now, it can be a lot to say, okay, now I've got to start working through this stuff. What's on the other side of that is our growth and our healing and our spiritual expansion. We can actually heal and grow and evolve through our traumas, not by escaping them, but it's important to recognize, what is it that never repaired? Now, just also on that note, a trauma is a life experience that happened when beneath consciousness, or I should say prior to a child's ability to have an understanding or grasping of what actually happened. Sometimes it's precognition or pre-brain chemistry, not able to really understand fully and grasp what's going on, and it remains as an unprocessed trauma in the body when there hasn't been repair. And so from a healing perspective, as an adult, it's safe now to go back and repair what was traumatic. And we can certainly do that through energy healing, but it's important for healers to understand trauma. That trauma is a part of this energy healing conversation, and that we're not, just spiritually bypassing and saying, let's just get this darkness out of us. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the body's ready to let go on that level. But part of the process within energy healing to help someone clear and heal what's going on in the lower body is that we're meeting the need that's happening there. And some of that is unprocessed emotions that we're allowing an individual, a child to, or I should say an adult and their inner child to feel, feelings that are present there, to be able to call in support and love to that area of the body, to give them connection for what, where they are and for their true power, and to give them a voice and allow them to step into, who they are truly as an essence, and as someone who has power and isn't disempowered by a traumatic experience. So this is a huge topic, and it's a topic that feels important in terms of energy healing, because we can certainly, from the lower chakras, there are thousands of methods to heal energy in the lower half of the body. But it's important to recognize, from my opinion, it's important to recognize that, as we are spiritually growing and evolving, and as our intuition is opening up, that healing our traumas that have held in the body is an important process and step. So when it's things like, when every time I do this guided meditation, a few days later, I start to have a whole bunch of emotions, or, I start to fall asleep, or I stay disconnected, I get disconnected from myself. It's important to recognize that healing what's held in the lower body is a part of our spiritual growth process. It's a part of intuition, of developing intuition, and that more energy healers that have an awareness of trauma is crucial. It's so important nowadays because so many people's traumas are getting triggered as they are spiritually growing and evolving. So I wanted to give you this message and know that it's the beginning of further conversation. It's not complete. There's a lot more to say about this in the field and how to heal in the lower body. There's so much information on my website, schoolofintuitivestudies.com. If you are interested in deep energy healing, I run a monthly call every month, the Divine Healing Inner Circle, for deep personal healing. I also teach training programs for empaths and developing intuition and becoming a healer. So blessings to you. I hope this was supportive. Feel free to visit my website, schoolofintuitivestudies.com. I look forward to connecting soon.